Every night at 2:14, the most feared man in New York called just to hear me say hello. He fell in love with my voice in the dark. Then he saw my face, and the secret I had been hiding broke something inside him. But before Enzo Salvatore ever knew my name, before he touched my hand, before he looked at me like I was the one thing in his world he could not command, I was only Operator 7 at Confidant, a woman paid to answer dangerous men after midnight and pretend their secrets could not hurt me. The first time his code name appeared on my screen, I almost rejected the call. Il Lupo, the wolf, no voice filter, no background mask, no emotional category selected, just one private line opening at 2:14 a.m., like a door I should never have walked through. I sat alone in a glass booth on the 34th floor of a private building in Manhattan, wearing a cheap black headset, drinking coffee that had gone cold beside my keyboard, with my little brother's hospital bill folded underneath the desk, because I could not bear to look at it and still keep my voice steady. Confidant was not a normal hotline. Normal men did not pay $20,000 a month to speak anonymously to women they would never meet. Our clients were billionaires, politicians, heirs, criminals, men with marble homes and locked hearts, men who trusted encrypted lines more than priests. We were trained to be calm, warm, professional, and forgettable. We were trained not to ask names. We were trained not to react. We were trained to understand that silence was the product, and our voices were only the packaging. I clicked accept and said the sentence I had said to hundreds of rich, lonely strangers. Confidant private line. You're safe here. A low male voice came through the darkness. Calm. Italian. Deadly. No one is safe here. My fingers stopped above the keyboard. Behind his voice, I heard something faint. A chair scraping across marble. A man breathing too fast. Another man whispering something that sounded like a prayer. I should have ended the call. Confidante rules were clear. If a client mentioned violence, threats, weapons, or active danger, we were supposed to alert internal security and disconnect. But I did not disconnect, because the man on the line did not sound like someone asking permission to be cruel. He sounded like someone standing on the edge of cruelty, waiting for one voice to pull him back. Then why did you call? I asked. Silence. Heavy. Controlled. The kind of silence that made me feel as if he had turned his head toward me in a room I could not see. Then he said, "There is a man kneeling in front of me. He stole from me, lied to me, sold my name to people who wanted me dead." My throat tightened. "And what do you want from me?" "One reason," he said. "One reason not to make him disappear tonight." Behind him, the kneeling man made a broken sound. My heart hit my ribs so hard it hurt. I was 24 years old, sitting in a glass booth above Manhattan with no weapon, no power, no protection, and a 12-year-old brother at home whose heart was running out of time. I had no right to challenge a man who sounded like he could order death with the same calm voice most people use to order coffee. But something inside me moved before fear could stop it. "If you really wanted him gone," I said softly, "you would not be asking a stranger for a reason." The line went so quiet I heard my own pulse. Then his voice dropped lower. "What did you say?" I swallowed, but I did not take it back. "I said you did not call because of him. You called because some part of you is tired of being the only monster in the room." For 3 seconds I thought I had killed myself with one sentence. Even the man crying in the background stopped. Then Il Lupo gave an order, not to me, but to the men around him. "Let him go." A door opened. Someone sobbed harder. Footsteps rushed away. And then the most dangerous client confidant had ever placed on my screen breathed into my headset as if my voice had reached a place no bullet ever had. "What is your name?" he asked. "You know I can't tell you that." "Then I will call you Voce." "Voice?" "Yes," he said, "because that is what stopped me. I should have been afraid of him. I was. But I was also afraid of the way my own heart reacted when he stayed on the line instead of hanging up. "You should not call me anything," I said. "I'm not supposed to become real to you. Too late." The words were quiet, almost careless, but they entered me like a warning. My supervisor, Celeste, passed outside the booth with her tablet, her heels silent on the carpet, her face lit blue by client activity. I lowered my voice. This line is confidential, but it is not personal. Everything becomes personal after midnight. Not here. Especially there. I looked at his call timer. 2 minutes and 41 seconds. Somehow it felt like he had been inside my head for an hour. Why did you really call? I asked. I told you. No. You told me what was happening in the room, not what was happening to you. Another pause. This one was different. Not dangerous. Wounded. Though he would have hated that word. I had already decided what to do with him, he said. Then your hand should not have been reaching for a phone. He laughed once, without humor. You speak to wolves like you have never been bitten. My eyes moved to the hospital bill under my keyboard. No, I speak like I have. By whom? I almost answered. A landlord. A hospital. A man who lent money with one hand and took dignity with the other. Life itself. Instead, I said, that is not part of the service. Neither was saving a man you do not know. Maybe I wasn't saving him. Then what were you doing? I looked through the glass walls of my booth at the city glittering below us, full of people who could afford emergencies and people who could not. Maybe I was saving you from becoming the kind of man who does not need a reason anymore. The call lasted 9 minutes. He did not tell me his name. I did not tell him mine. When he finally disconnected, the screen went black, and I sat still with my headset on, my hands cold, my breath uneven. Then I pulled the folded hospital bill from beneath my keyboard. St. Agnes Children's Hospital. Patient, Milo Voss. Age 12. Recommended procedure, urgent corrective cardiac surgery. Deposit required before surgical scheduling. 6 weeks. The doctor had given us 6 weeks before the risk rose beyond what she was comfortable saying out loud. 6 weeks sounded merciful until you were counting rent, groceries, medicine, and debt in the same cracked kitchen drawer. At 7:12 a.m., I walked home through dirty snow with my coat wrapped tight around me and Ilupo's voice still sitting under my skin. Our apartment was on the 4th floor of a walk-up in Queens, above a nail salon and beside a bakery that made the hallway smell like sugar we could not afford. Milo was asleep on the couch when I opened the door, one hand resting on his chest like he was checking whether his heart had kept its promise through the night. His school books were open on the coffee table. His medicine bottles stood beside a plastic cup of water. A pair of sneakers waited near the couch because Milo believed emergencies should never have to wait for laces. I stood there for a moment and watched him breathe. 12 years old, too thin, too pale, too brave in the way sick children learn because adults keep crying in bathrooms. He opened one eye. You're staring again. You're supposed to be asleep. My heart was being dramatic. I crossed the room too fast, and he rolled his eyes before I reached him. Alina, I'm fine. You're 12. You don't get to decide what fine means. Dr. Patel says stress is bad for cardiac patients, so maybe stop looking at me like I exploded. I pressed my palm to his forehead. No fever. His pulse fluttered too quickly under my fingers, but lately it always did. Did you take the blue pill? Yes. The white one? Yes. The small yellow one? Yes, Captain Anxiety. I tried to smile. It hurt. I'm serious. His face softened. I know. He glanced toward the bills near the sink. Did the hospital call again? Hospitals always call. How much? Not your problem. I'm the one with the expensive heart. And I'm the one with the job. He looked away, ashamed, and regret hit me immediately. Milo carried enough. He did not need my fear placed in his hands, too. I sat on the edge of the couch and fixed his blanket. Hey, look at me. He did. His eyes were too old for 12. I will handle it. You always say that. Because I always do. He nodded, but he was not convinced. Neither was I. By noon, I stood outside Dr. Patel's office at St. Agnes, holding a folder full of applications, denial letters, charity forms, and numbers that made my lungs feel too small. Dr. Patel was kind in the way good doctors are when they cannot save you from the system wrapped around their hands. Alina, his rhythm episodes are becoming more frequent. We can manage symptoms for a short period, but the surgical window matters. 6 weeks is the outside edge. I'm applying for assistance. I know. The charity board said they'll review. I know. I can increase the deposit. I just need time. Her face softened, and I hated that softness because it always came before the truth. I wish time were something I could prescribe. I walked out past parents holding balloons. Nurses moving fast, children wearing masks, machines beeping behind doors. Outside, New York kept moving like my brother's heart was not a clock losing minutes. That evening, before my shift, Victor Drago waited in the alley behind my building. He wore a charcoal coat and black leather gloves, too polished for our street, with two men standing beside a black SUV. I stopped 3 steps from him and felt my stomach turn cold. Victor was not the kind of man you forgot after meeting once. I had borrowed $5,000 from one of his people 8 months earlier, when Milo's medication changed and insurance delayed approval. 5,000 had become 12. 12 had become 21. Interest, fees, penalties, threats. Debt did not grow like a number with Victor. It grew like mold. "Alina Voss," he said, smiling as if we were old friends. "You work too hard." I made the payment on Friday. A small payment. It was what we agreed. It was what you begged me to accept. I kept my face still. "I have another shift. A confidant." My breath stopped before I could hide it. His smile widened. "Careful. Fear makes people honest." "I don't know what you're talking about." "You answer phones for people who think secrecy makes them gods. One of those gods called last night." He stepped closer. "Il Lupo." My mouth went dry. "Client names are confidential." "So he is real." I said nothing. The air smelled like exhaust, snow, and garbage. Victor's eyes sharpened. "One of your night shift security analysts likes money more than confidentiality. He cannot hear the calls, but he can see code names, call times, and operator numbers. He saw Il Lupo connect to operator 7 at 2:14. Then I saw your name attached to a debt file, and suddenly the world became useful." My stomach turned. "You have nothing. I have enough. Even if he called, I don't know who he is." "Then find out." "I can't." "You can." "No, I literally can't. We don't see real names. Men like him reveal themselves even when they think they are silent. I signed contracts." Victor laughed softly. "Contracts. How sweet." One of his men opened the SUV door. Inside, on the leather seat, was a brown pharmacy bag with Milo's name printed on the label. My heart dropped so hard I almost reached for the wall. "Where did you get that?" "Your brother's medicine is expensive. Fragile supply chain. Things disappear. Don't touch him." The words came out sharper than fear. Victor's smile vanished. "Then be useful. Il Lupo is someone I need to understand. You will help me. I don't know anything. You will." He stepped back. "Bring me something real after your next meaningful call. His habits. His weakness. His location. His name if you can get it. Smoke will not satisfy me forever." "I can't get that." "Then pray your brother's world stays organized. Hospital grants can be influenced. Schedules can be delayed. Medication can arrive late. Forms can disappear." I wanted to hit him. I wanted to run. I wanted to become the kind of woman who did not have a little brother sleeping beside pill bottles. Instead, I stood there while Victor's man tossed Milo's medicine at my feet. "I will know if you lie," Victor said. Then he got into the SUV and left me shaking in the alley. That night, I arrived at Confidant early and threw up in the restroom before my shift. My reflection looked like someone had erased me badly. Dark hair twisted into a clip, tired hazel eyes, pale face, cheap blouse buttoned to the throat because the office was always cold. I washed my mouth, fixed my lipstick, and went to booth 7. Celeste stopped outside the glass and tapped her tablet. "You look terrible." "Thank you. Elite clients tonight. Don't improvise." "I never improvise." She gave me a look. "Your call with Il Lupo was flagged." My pulse jumped. "Complaint?" "No," she studied the screen. "He requested you again. Operator 7, at 2:14. My chest tightened in a way I did not want to name. "Can he do that?" "A client at his level can do almost anything." Celeste leaned closer. "Do not get attached. Men who hide behind code names are not wounded puppies. They are men with enough money to buy silence and enough darkness to need it." Understood. I did understand. That was the problem. At 2:14, his name appeared again. Il Lupo. I clicked accept, my fingers cold. "Confidant private line. You're safe here." "Still childish," he said. I should have felt only fear. Instead, Because my body was foolish and tired and desperate for one voice that was not asking me for money, I almost smiled. Then why do you keep calling? You ended our last conversation badly. You ended it. Because you annoyed me. People usually avoid things that annoy them. People usually lie. I looked at the call timer. Did you sleep? No. Eat? Is this part of the service? It is part of being human. That is not something I have been accused of often. His voice was dry, but there was strain beneath it, the thin edge of a blade held too long. I thought of Victor. Find out who he is. I thought of Milo's medicine in that brown bag. I forced myself to ask, what kept you awake? A man in my organization stole from me. My pulse jumped. Are you angry because he stole or because he thought you would not notice? Silence. Then, you ask dangerous questions. You called an anonymous hotline at 2:14 in the morning. Safe questions would insult you. This time, he laughed, barely. One quiet breath that warmed the line for half a second. What would you do with a thief, Voce? The name moved through me before I could defend myself against it. I would ask what he stole for. Why? Because hunger and greed are different crimes. And betrayal? Betrayal is usually just fear wearing someone else's coat. He did not answer quickly. When he did, his voice was lower. You sound young. You sound tired. That is not an answer. Neither was yours. Another pause. I imagined him somewhere dark and expensive. A man with enemies outside his door, and no one allowed close enough to ask if he had eaten. I hated that I imagined him at all. You should be careful, he said. With what? Sounding as if you understand me. My throat tightened. Maybe you should be careful sounding like you want to be understood. The call lasted 16 minutes. When it ended, I wrote the official confidant report exactly as policy required. Client expressed insomnia, distrust, organizational stress. No actionable personal data. Then I opened the burner phone Victor's man had forced into my coat pocket and typed the first lie that might keep Milo alive. Il Lupo. Male. Wealthy. Likely mid-40s. Possible finance sector. Paranoid about employee theft. Nothing confirmed. Victor responded 3 minutes later. Not enough. For the next 3 weeks, the calls became a ritual after that. Always 2:14, always him. Sometimes he opened with a question. Sometimes with silence. Sometimes he sounded like he had just come from a room where every man had disappointed him. Sometimes I heard faint music in the background. Old Italian opera playing far away. He never gave his real name. I never gave mine. He called me Voce, and I pretended the name did not make me feel seen in a way my real one rarely did. You never ask what I do, he said one night. I'm not allowed. That is not why. No, I admitted. It is not. Then why? I looked through the glass wall of my booth at the other operators, each sealed inside her own square of blue light and secrets. Because I think I already know enough to be afraid. And yet you answer. It's my job. No. His voice softened, and somehow that was more dangerous. You answer before the second ring. I closed my eyes. Maybe I'm afraid of what happens if I don't. To whom? My hand moved to the hospital bell beneath my keyboard. I pulled it back. Everyone has someone, Il Lupo. Not everyone. Yes, I said quietly. Even you. Maybe yours is just gone. He did not hang up that time. He stayed for 31 minutes. We said very little after that, but the silence changed. It stopped being empty. It became a room we were both sitting in, pretending we had not chosen the chairs. At home, Milo noticed my distraction. He noticed everything. You have a boyfriend, he said one morning while poking at oatmeal he hated. I nearly dropped the spoon. I work nights and sleep 4 hours. When would I get a boyfriend? You smile at your phone sometimes. I do not. You did yesterday. That was a hospital email. Nobody smiles at hospital emails. I pointed the spoon at him. Eat. He grinned, then winced and pressed a hand to his chest. The spoon fell from my fingers. Milo? I'm okay, don't lie. I'm not, but his face had gone too pale. I sat beside him and counted his breaths until they steadied. Fear moved into the kitchen and sat between us. 2 days later, Dr. Patel called while I was on the subway to work. I knew from the first second that something had changed. Doctors have a voice for bad news even when they try not to. Alina, his latest results came in. I need you to bring Milo tomorrow morning. My hand tightened around the pole. Why? The arrhythmia burden is higher than expected. What does that mean? It means I am no longer comfortable with 6 weeks. The train screamed into the tunnel. For a moment, her words broke apart under the noise. How long? I asked. 2 weeks would be safer. Sooner if we can arrange it. My vision blurred. I don't have the deposit. I know. The grant board has not answered. I know. Please don't say you know like that. Dr. Patel was silent. Then softer. Bring him in tomorrow. We will discuss options. Options. That was what people called walls when they did not want to admit there was no door. That night I almost did not go to work, but missing a shift meant losing pay. Losing pay meant losing medicine. Losing medicine meant losing Milo faster. So I went. At 2:14, Il Lupo called. I answered before the first ring finished. Confidant private line, I said, but my voice cracked on the last word. He heard it. Of course he heard it. What happened? Nothing. Do not insult me. I said nothing. And I said do not insult me. I pressed my fingers against my eyes. Operators were not supposed to cry. Confidant did not pay us to be human on the wrong side of the line. You do not get to order me around, I whispered. No, he said after a pause. I do not. That made it worse. If he had been cruel, I could have held myself together. Voce. I hated the way that name sounded in his mouth tonight, like a hand held out in a room I was drowning in. My brother is sick, I said before I could stop myself. The line went still. How sick? Sick enough that time has started asking for money. What does he need? A surgery I cannot afford. Where? Panic snapped me upright. No, I shouldn't have said anything. Where? This is anonymous. Not if you need help. Especially if I need help. Pride is a poor guardian, and power is a dangerous gift. He exhaled slowly. You think I would use it against you? I think powerful men always say help when they mean ownership. Silence. Then very quietly. Who taught you that? I thought of Victor in the alley. Milo's medicine in his car. The way debt turned love into leverage. Life, I said. He did not push. That was the first time I understood how dangerous his restraint was. A man like Il Lupo could have demanded, threatened, traced, bought answers. Instead, he stayed on the line and let me keep the only thing I still controlled. My name. Tell me about him, he said. My brother? Yes. I looked at Milo's photo tucked inside my phone case. He was wearing a crooked paper crown from his 11th birthday, smiling with frosting on his chin. His name is Milo. He thinks he's funnier than he is. He hates oatmeal but eats it because he thinks pretending makes me less worried. He keeps his sneakers beside the couch in case we have to run to the hospital at night. He wants to become an architect because he says sick kids deserve hospitals that don't look sad. My voice broke. He is 12. Il Lupo said nothing for a moment. Then, 12 is too young to negotiate with death. Death doesn't care about age. No, he said, and there was something old in his voice. It does not. We stayed on the call for 42 minutes. He did not offer money again. I did not ask, but when the call ended, I found myself crying silently in booth 7. My headset still on, my hand pressed over my mouth so no one outside the glass could see how badly I had failed at being untouchable. My burner phone buzzed at 3:09. Victor, parking level. Now. I should have ignored it. I should have called security. But security at Confidant protected clients, not operators with loan sharks in their shadows. I took the service elevator down with my coat wrapped tight around me. The parking level smelled of concrete, oil, and winter trapped underground. Victor stood beside a black car alone this time. That scared me more. You are wasting my patience, he said. I gave you what I had. You gave me smoke. Because there is nothing else. He moved so fast I barely saw his hand before it closed around my arm. Not hard enough to break, hard enough to remind. Il Lupo called longer tonight. My blood went cold. You're monitoring me? I monitor investments. I'm not your investment. Your brother is. I tried to pull free. He held on. You have 48 hours. For what? His identity. His weakness. His location. Something real. I can't get that. Then get money. I stared at him. What? Your full balance. 48 hours. That's impossible. So is heart surgery with no deposit, yet you keep dreaming. My throat closed. Victor leaned in, his cologne sharp and expensive. Listen carefully, Alina. I know which hospital. I know which doctor. I know when your brother's medication is delivered. I know the charity board reviewing your application. You think lives end only with bullets? No. Sometimes a form gets lost. A wire transfer fails. A doctor gets delayed. A frightened sister misses a deadline. Please, I said, and hated the word as soon as it left me. Victor smiled. There she is. He let go of my arm. 48 hours. Bring me Il Lupo, or bring me every dollar you owe. If you do neither, Milo learns what your silence costs. He walked away. I stood in the parking level until the elevator doors opened behind me and someone from accounting stepped out, laughing into a phone, living in a world where the floor did not vanish under people. I went back upstairs. I finished my shift. I smiled at Celeste when she asked if I was fine. I went home at sunrise with bruises shaped like Victor's fingers hidden under my sleeve. Milo was awake on the couch pretending to read. He looked up and knew immediately. What happened? Nothing. You look like Mom did when she lied about being tired. I froze. He almost never mentioned her like that. I crossed the room and sat beside him. We're going to the hospital today. I heard you on the phone yesterday. Milo, 2 weeks? I could not lie. Not to his face. Maybe less if they can schedule it. He swallowed, trying to be brave and failing because he was 12 and should have been allowed to fail at smaller things. Do we have the money? I took his hand. His fingers were cold. I will get it. How? There it was. The question no prayer had answered yet. My phone buzzed before I could speak. Not the burner. My real phone. Unknown number. I stared at it, confused. Only 3 people had my real number. Milo, Dr. Patel, and Mrs. Klein downstairs in case of emergencies. The phone buzzed again. Milo looked at me. Answer, I did. For 1 second there was only silence. Then his voice came through. No headset between us. No confidant greeting. No blue-lit booth pretending secrets could be contained. Voce, Il Lupo said. My heart stopped. I stood so fast Milo flinched. How did you get this number? You are in danger. My fingers tightened around the phone. You traced me? No. Then how? Someone else did. One of Drago's men tried to sell your file to my people. Your number was inside it. The apartment tilted around me. Milo sat up straighter, scared now. What do you mean? I whispered. Il Lupo's voice turned colder than I had ever heard it, and for the first time I understood that his calm was not peace. It was a weapon waiting for permission. I mean, the man threatening you just made a mistake. What man? I said, but my voice betrayed me. He heard that too. He heard everything. Do not go to work tonight, he said. Do not answer numbers you do not recognize. Do not leave your brother alone. You don't know anything about my brother. I know enough. Fear and anger collided inside me. No. You don't get to appear in my life like this. You don't get to turn from a voice into a command. Alina. The sound of my name in his mouth stole every word from me. He knew. Somehow he knew. Milo whispered, Who is that? I could not answer. Il Lupo spoke again, quieter now, but no less dangerous. Listen to me carefully. Victor Drago is not a debt collector. He is bait. And if he gave you 48 hours, then you have less. My knees weakened. I grabbed the back of a chair. How do you know his name? The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of truth standing just outside the door. Then Il Lupo said, Because he is not hunting me by accident. He is using you to reach me. Milo stared at me, pale and terrified. Snow tapped against the kitchen window like small fingers. The hospital bills sat on the counter. The medicine bottles stood in their line. My whole life had narrowed into one phone call. Who are you? I asked. For the first time since I had heard his voice. Il Lupo did not avoid the question. A man you should have stayed far away from. That is not an answer. No, he said. But it is a warning. The line clicked dead. 2 seconds later, the burner phone on the table lit up with Victor's message. 48 hours starts now. Then another message came through from an unknown number. Not Victor, not Il Lupo. A photo of Milo leaving St. Agnes 2 days earlier. Under it, 6 words. Choose the wolf or the boy. I looked at my little brother sitting on our couch with fear in his eyes and a failing heart in his chest. And for the first time in weeks, I understood the truth clearly. I had not been answering a lonely man in the dark. I had been standing between two monsters, and one of them had just learned my name. I did not sleep after Ilupo said my name. I sat on the kitchen floor with my back against the cabinet, Milo asleep on the couch because fear had finally exhausted him, and both phones on the table like loaded guns. One belonged to Victor Drago. One belonged to my real life. The man who had called me Voce had crossed the line between them without touching a door. He knew my name. He knew Victor. He knew I was bait. And still, the most terrifying part was not that he had found me. It was that when he told me not to go to work, some foolish corner of my heart wanted to obey him. By noon, Milo was admitted to St. Agnes for observation, because his pulse would not settle. Dr. Patel tried to sound calm, but I had learned to hear fear in careful voices. "We need to move faster, Alina." "How fast?" She looked at Milo through the glass wall of the room. He was sitting up in bed, pretending to build a paper airplane from a hospital form. "Days, if possible. 2 weeks is no longer where I want to be." The floor moved under me. "I don't have the deposit." "I know. Please stop saying that." Her eyes softened. "I'm pushing the charity board again. But I need you to prepare yourself for the possibility that paperwork won't move quickly enough." Paperwork. That was the word standing between my brother and an operating room. I kissed Milo's forehead before leaving him with Mrs. Klein from downstairs, who had come without hesitation when I called. Milo grabbed my wrist. "Don't do anything stupid." I tried to smile. "That removes most of my options." "Alina." He looked younger in the hospital bed, swallowed by white sheets and wires. "Promise." I wanted to promise. I wanted to be the kind of sister whose love did not require lies. Instead, I touched his cheek and said, "I'm going to fix it." His eyes filled with fear because he knew that was not the same thing. At 6:40 p.m., Confidant sent an emergency alert to every operator. Mandatory attendance. Security breach. Top-tier client verification protocol activated. My blood went cold before I even reached the second line. Confidant never used the word breach unless something had gone badly enough for rich men to panic. I almost deleted the message. Then Victor's burner lit up. "Go to work. Take whatever meeting they give you. Bring me something real." Attached beneath the message was a live photo of Milo's hospital room door. I stopped breathing. He was not inside. He was not touching my brother, but he was close enough to prove he could. I went to work with Victor's threat in one pocket and Ilupo's warning in the other. Confidant looked different that night. The blue lights were dimmer. 2 armed private security men stood near the elevators. Celeste's face had lost all its polished boredom. She gathered the night operators in the central conference room, doors sealed, phones collected, tablets locked. At 3:18 this afternoon, an external party attempted to penetrate our top-tier client shield. No identities were released, but several account pathways were exposed. Until the breach is contained, selected operators will conduct in-person verification with assigned clients under controlled security. One of the girls beside me whispered, "In person." Celeste's eyes moved over us. "This is not a social meeting. It is a crisis protocol used only when a top-tier account may have been compromised. The operator verifies voice continuity, while the client verifies account control. It is rare. It is secure. It is not optional." My stomach tightened. "Operator 7. I looked up. Celeste did not blink. "You have been assigned to Ilupo." The room blurred for half a second. "No." The word left me before I could stop it. Every eye turned. Celeste's mouth tightened. "Excuse me?" I forced my voice steady. "I mean, I don't think I'm the best choice. He's a new client. Maybe someone senior. He requested you." Of course he had. The wolf did not knock on doors. He opened them. Celeste dismissed everyone else, then stepped close enough that only I could hear. "I do not know what you said to that man, but he refused all substitutes. You will go to the secure verification suite. You will confirm client continuity. You will not ask personal questions, and you will not leave the script." "What if I refuse?" "Then you lose your job tonight." She paused, and because the world enjoyed cruelty, her eyes flicked to the hospital bill poking from my bag. "And whatever problem you are trying to outrun gets heavier." I went cold. "You looked in my bag?" "I notice things. So do clients. Remember that." The car Confidant sent for me had black windows and no visible driver behind the divider. I sat in the back with my hands folded tightly, watching Manhattan lights slide across the glass. Halfway to the verification suite, Victor called the burner. I answered because Milo's hospital door was still on my mind. "I'm going," I whispered. "Good girl." His voice made my skin crawl. You will keep your phone open. They took my phone. Not the one I gave you. My fingers tightened around the burner hidden inside the lining of my coat. I can't risk that. You cannot risk disappointing me either. Get his face, his real name, his security pattern, anything. If he catches me, I'm dead. Victor laughed softly. Then be charming. Men who call women at night are always weaker than they think. I looked out at the city. You don't know him. Neither do you. That was the problem. I knew his silence. I knew his breath when he was angry. I knew he drank with ice but hated sounding drunk. I knew he listened harder when I stopped pretending. I knew the man under the code name better than I knew the face I was about to see. The car stopped beneath a private building near the river, all black glass and steel. Security took me through 3 elevators, 2 scanners, and a hallway so quiet my heartbeat felt indecent. A woman in a gray suit led me to a door and said, "When you enter, stand on the mark. State your operator ID. Confirm the code phrase. Do not approach the client unless requested. And if he requests." She looked at me as if I were stupid. "Then decide how badly you want to keep breathing." The door opened. I stepped inside. The room was large, windowless, and lit with soft white light that made every corner visible. 2 men stood near the back wall. One was broad, watchful, with a scar crossing one eyebrow. The other held a tablet and did not look up. And in the center of the room, beside a black table, stood the man who had been living in my ear for weeks. Enzo Salvatore. I knew his face before anyone said his name. Everyone in New York knew the shape of his danger even if they pretended not to. He was tall, dressed in a black suit without a tie, dark hair combed back, jaw clean but shadowed, eyes the color of a storm behind glass. He did not look like a man who needed an anonymous hotline. He looked like the reason other men called one. My mouth went dry. Il Lupo was not just a dangerous client. He was the Salvatore boss, the man newspapers never named directly unless lawyers had already approved every word. The man Victor Drago wanted. The man I had been ordered to betray. I should have spoken first. I should have read the script. But Enzo looked at me, really looked, and the room changed. His expression did not soften. It sharpened, as if every call, every silence, every almost truth had suddenly stepped into light wearing my face. I found my voice because it was the only thing about me that had not learned to kneel. "Operator 7, I said. Confidant verification protocol. Client code name Il Lupo." Enzo did not move. His eyes held mine. Then he said very quietly, "Say that again." The scarred man near the wall looked at him. I swallowed. "Client code name Il Lupo." Enzo's breath stopped. Not dramatically, not visibly enough for anyone else to notice. But I noticed because I knew his breathing from the dark. I had heard it angry, tired, amused, wounded. Now I heard it vanish. "Voce," he said. My pulse broke loose. The man with the scar looked at me like I had just become a loaded weapon. I forced myself to stand still. "This meeting is for verification only." Enzo took one slow step closer. "You are Alina Voss." Hearing my name in that room felt like being touched without permission. You already knew that. I knew a name. His eyes moved over my face with a kind of controlled disbelief that made me want to step back and move closer at the same time. I did not know this was the face behind the voice. I hated how the words affected me. I hated that I had imagined him so many times, and every version had been safer than the truth. And I did not know the wolf had a real throne. One corner of his mouth moved barely. "Careful. You keep saying that. You keep needing it." The tablet man cleared his throat. "Boss, protocol." Enzo's eyes did not leave mine. "Leave us." The man with the scar stiffened. "Enzo. Rocco, outside." So that was Rocco. His right hand. His warning system. His last reasonable thought. Rocco did not like the order, but he obeyed. He stepped outside but stayed directly beyond the door, one hand near his weapon, refusing to move farther. The door closed. Suddenly the room felt too quiet. Enzo stood 6 feet away from me, close enough for me to see the faint line of a scar near his lower lip, far enough to pretend distance still protected us. "You should not have come," he said. "My employer disagreed. I told you not to go to work. You don't get to tell me what to do. When someone is using you to reach me, I do." "No," I said, anger rising because fear needed somewhere to go. "You don't. You were a voice on a line. Then you became a man who knew my name. Do you understand how terrifying that is? His jaw tightened. Yes, the answer was too honest. It stole some of my anger and left me with worse things. How did you get my number? One of Drago's men tried to sell access to my people. He had your file, your name, your apartment, your brother's hospital. My men intercepted enough to know Drago was circling you, but not enough to know what he had already done. My stomach dropped. Milo, he is being watched by my men now. What? From a distance. No one will touch him. You put men on my brother? Drago did first. That does not make it yours to fix. His eyes darkened. It makes it mine to stop. Everything becomes yours eventually, doesn't it? The words hit him. I saw it. The tiny flinch he turned into stillness. No, he said, not everything. The lights flickered once. We both looked up. The door behind me beeped red, then green. Enzo's face changed before the handle turned. He reached for me. Down. I moved because his voice left no room for pride. The glass panel behind me shattered before I even understood what had happened. Enzo pulled me behind the black table as the room exploded into alarms, shouting, and footsteps. 2 men in confidant security jackets rushed through the door, but something about them was wrong. Their badges were real. Their eyes were not, Rocco shouted from the hallway. The tablet man dragged himself behind the side wall, one hand pressed to his shoulder. I hit the floor hard, palms burning, ears ringing. Enzo was above me, one arm braced near my head, his body between mine and the chaos. Stay down, he ordered. I should have, but then I saw movement in the polished wall. One of the attackers was trying to move behind Rocco, using the reflection like a hidden path. I saw it because confidant booths were made of glass, and I had spent years reading reflections while pretending not to watch anyone. Left, I shouted. Rocco left. Rocco turned just in time. Enzo moved with him, fast and controlled, and the attacker dropped out of sight. The lights flickered again. A third man came through the side service panel, silent and fast, something sharp flashing in his hand. Enzo turned, but not fast enough. I grabbed the heavy metal verification lamp from the table and swung with both hands. It connected with the man's wrist. The weapon hit the floor. Enzo finished the rest before I could think about what I had done. Then there was silence, except for alarms and someone groaning in the hallway. My hands were shaking so badly the lamp fell from my fingers. Enzo turned to me, eyes burning. Are you hurt? No. Alina. He caught my wrist, not hard, just enough to make me focus. Are you hurt? No. His gaze moved over me once, fast and ruthless, checking for injuries. Then Rocco cursed from the doorway. Marco's hurt. The tablet man was on the floor now, pressing a useless hand to his shoulder while pain drained the color from his face. No one moved quickly enough. Maybe they were trained for danger, not bodies afterward. But I knew bodies. I knew hospital rooms. I knew what panic wasted. I tore off my scarf and dropped beside him. Move your hand. He stared at me. What? Move your hand unless you want to make this worse. Enzo crouched beside us. You know what you're doing? My brother has been in and out of hospitals since he was born. I learned the difference between panic and pressure before I learned how to drive. I pressed the scarf hard against the wound. Marco gasped. Look at me, I said. Not at the blood. At me, he did. You're going to keep breathing because I do not have time for another man making my night difficult. Rocco gave a short, disbelieving laugh. Enzo did not. His eyes were fixed on my face like he was seeing a second person behind the first. Not just Voce, not just Alina. Someone who could stand inside danger and still choose life. Within minutes, Enzo's private medics arrived. Confidant security flooded the building too late to matter. Celeste appeared pale and furious, but one look from Enzo silenced whatever complaint she had prepared. He took my coat from a chair and placed it around my shoulders himself. I should not have noticed the gentleness. I did. You are coming with me, he said. No. Rocco looked at me like I had lost my mind. No? My brother is in the hospital. I'm going to him. Enzo's expression hardened. Drago just sent men into a secured confidant building. And Milo is still my brother. My car will take you. I can take a cab. Alina. There it was again. My name in his voice. Less command this time. More restraint, trying not to break. Let me put something between you and the men hunting you. A car is not protection. It is control with leather seats. His jaw flexed. For a moment I thought he would argue. Instead, he reached inside his jacket, took out a black card and held it toward me. No logo, no title, just one number printed in silver. My direct line. Rocco stared as if Enzo had handed me a crown. No one has that, he muttered. Enzo ignored him. If Drago calls, if anyone follows you, if your brother's door opens and you do not like who enters, you call me. I looked at the card but did not take it. And what will you do? Enzo stepped closer, voice low enough that only I could hear. Become the reason they regret learning your name. The words should have frightened me. They did. But they also reached the part of me that had been carrying Milo alone for so long, it had forgotten what it felt like to hear someone else say no to the world. I took the card. This does not mean I trust you. Good, he said. Trust slowly. His card took me to St. Agnes with 2 black SUVs behind us. I hated that I felt safer. I hated that I watched for them in the reflection of every window and breathed easier when they stayed. Milo was asleep when I reached his room. Mrs. Klein sat in the corner knitting badly, her eyes sharp. There were men outside earlier. My heart lurched. What men? Not hospital men. One looked at the door too long. Then another man in a black suit came and stood by the elevator, and the first one left. Enzo's men. I touched Milo's hair with shaking fingers. Did Milo see? No. Good, one thing saved. My real phone buzzed at 2:14 the next morning while I sat beside Milo's bed. Enzo, not Il Lupo, not unknown. The black card's number. I stared at it until the call nearly ended, then answered. You are supposed to be sleeping, he said. So are you. I asked first. You didn't ask. I rarely do. That must be lonely. Silence. Then, less than it was. I looked at Milo's sleeping face and hated how much those 4 words warmed me. Your man Marco, is he alive? Yes. He asked if the angry woman with the scarf charges extra for insults. A tired laugh escaped me before I could stop it. Tell him yes. I will. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The hospital machines hummed softly. Enzo's breathing came through the line, real and close. You saved him, he said. I pressed on a wound. You warned Rocco. I saw a reflection. You hit a man with a lamp. It was a good lamp. This time, his laugh was real, quiet and surprised, and it did something dangerous to my chest. Then his voice lowered. Have dinner with me tomorrow. I looked at Milo. That is insane, yes. You were attacked tonight. So were you. My brother is in the hospital. He will be guarded. You do not hear yourself. Do you? I hear you, he said. The line went still. That is the problem. I should have said no. I meant to. But the next evening, after Milo was stable, and Mrs. Klein insisted I leave for 1 hour before I collapsed, I found myself in a private dining room above an Italian restaurant with no sign outside, sitting across from Enzo Salvatore while snow fell over Manhattan like the city had decided to pretend innocence. There were guards beyond the door, but inside the room it was only us. Candlelight, white plates, and too much silence. You brought me to dinner after someone tried to kill you, I said. People try to kill me often. That is not comforting. I did not bring you for comfort. Then why? He looked at me across the table. Without the headset, without darkness, his attention was almost too much to bear, because for weeks I spoke to a voice that made me remember I was still a man. Then the woman behind it walked into a room full of danger and told my injured employee not to make her night difficult. That sounds like a complaint. It is not. I looked down before my face betrayed me. You don't know me. I know you lie when you are scared. My eyes snapped up. Excuse me? I know you insult people when you want to cry. I know you protect your brother like breathing. I know you hate needing help. I know you think power always takes more than it gives. His voice softened. And I know someone taught you that painfully. Victor's fingerprints had faded on my arm, but my body remembered. I folded my hands under the table. Knowing wounds is not the same as knowing a person. Then teach me the difference. The room felt suddenly smaller. Enzo reached across the table, not touching me, just placing his hand palm up between us. An offer, not a claim. That was worse. A claim I could fight. An offer I had to choose. My fingers moved before my fear approved. I touched his hand for 1 second. His skin was warm. His stillness changed. The door opened. Rocco stepped in, face grim. Enzo's hand withdrew at once. Not now, Enzo said. Now, Rocco answered, and looked at me like he wished I were anywhere else. Enzo stood. Wait here, but the door had opened wide enough for me to see the file in Rocco's hand. Photos slid partly from the folder. Me in the parking level with Victor. Me near the alley behind my building. A screenshot of burner messages. My stomach turned to ice. Enzo saw my face change. So did Rocco. The room lost all warmth. Leave us, Enzo said. Rocco hesitated. Boss, leave. The door closed. Enzo picked up the file slowly. His face became the one I had imagined before I knew better. The boss, the wolf, the man no one survived betraying. He laid the first photo on the table between us, Victor's hand around my arm. From the angle, it looked like a meeting. It looked like cooperation. It looked like guilt. Tell me this is not what it looks like, he said. His voice was calm. That scared me more than shouting. Enzo, tell me! I stood too fast. I can explain. Pain flashed across his face so quickly I almost missed it. Those are usually the first words of betrayal. I didn't betray you. He placed the screenshot beside the photo. Il lupo dislikes disloyalty. Il lupo has insomnia. Il lupo may own property outside New York. My own useless reports stared back at me like crimes. You reported on me to Victor Drago. I lied to him. You expect me to admire your technique? No, I expect you to listen. I listened to you for weeks. The words cut because they were not loud. Every night, every silence, every carefully placed truth. Was any of it real? My throat burned. Yes. Was your brother real? I slapped him before I knew I had moved. The sound cracked through the room. For one frozen second, neither of us breathed. Enzo's head had turned slightly with the hit. Slowly, he looked back at me. There was no anger in his eyes, only shock, and beneath it, something worse. Shame arriving too late. My hand shook. Do not use him like that. Not you, his voice dropped. Then tell me the truth. Victor owns my debt. I borrowed money for Milo's medicine. The interest became impossible. He found out where I worked. He knew about Il Lupo before I knew who you were. He told me to get your identity, your weakness, your location. He showed me Milo's medicine in his car. He sent men to the hospital. He told me a form could disappear, a doctor could be delayed, a surgery fund could vanish. I pulled the burner from my coat and threw it onto the table. Read it, read every report. I gave him smoke. I gave him nothing that could hurt you. Enzo did not move. I unlocked the burner with shaking fingers and shoved it toward him. Go on, he read. Each message, each useless line, each threat from Victor, each fake answer from me. His face changed slowly, and it hurt more than his suspicion. The cold left first, then the certainty, then the wall. By the time he reached Victor's photo of Milo outside St. Agnes, Enzo looked like someone had opened a grave under his feet. He threatened your brother, he said. Yes. And you still protected me. My laugh broke in my throat. Don't make it noble. I was terrified. You could have given him my name. I did not know it then. Later. I looked at him, tears hot now because I was too tired to hold them back. Later, I knew your voice. That hit him harder than the slap. He stepped back once, as if the table between us was not enough. Alina, I did not protect you because you were good. I don't know if you are good. I protected you because every night at 2:14, a man everyone feared called me and sounded less alone when I answered. I protected you because you let a man live when I asked you to. I protected you because you listened when I told you about Milo, and you didn't try to buy me in the first breath. My voice cracked. And because I was stupid enough to care. Enzo looked at the burner again, then at the hospital bill that had slipped from my bag and fallen near the chair. He picked it up. I wanted to snatch it back. I had hidden those numbers from everyone like shame, but he read Milo's name, the surgery recommendation, the deposit requirement, the shortened timeline. His face broke in silence. Not loudly, not beautifully, just a powerful man realizing that while he had been deciding whether to trust me, I had been choosing between his life and my brother's. How long? He asked. I wiped my face. Days. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was afraid if I let you save him, I would belong to you. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, something in him had changed. The wolf was still there, but it had turned away from me and toward the door. Rocco, he called. The door opened instantly. as if Rocco had been waiting with his hand on the handle. Enzo did not look away from me. Call Dr. Bellini in Milan. Wake him. Offer whatever it takes. I want Bellini reviewing Milo's scans within minutes, and his team in the air before sunrise. Secure an operating wing at St. Agnes if Dr. Patel approves the transfer of authority, or make sure the hospital has every resource it needs without moving another child from care. Put men on Milo's room, the charity board, Dr. Patel, and every entrance between here and Queens. Rocco nodded once, already moving. And Drago? Enzo's eyes stayed on mine, dark and wounded and deadly. Find him. My breath caught. Enzo. He stepped closer, slowly this time, carefully, as if my fear mattered more than his need to fix what he had almost destroyed. You do not belong to me, Alina. His voice was rough. Your brother will not owe me his life. You will not owe me your heart. But tonight, for once, my name is going to be used for something other than fear. I could not speak. Enzo looked at the burner phone, at Victor's threats, at Milo's bill, then back at me. You asked me once what power is for. I never asked that. No, he said. But your voice did. He reached for my hand, then stopped before touching me. Waiting. Letting me decide. I looked at the man I had feared, the man I had protected, the man who had just broken under the weight of my secret. And for the first time since Milo got sick, I let someone see how tired I was. I placed my hand in his. Enzo's fingers closed around mine like a vow he was afraid to make too tightly. Before sunrise, he said, your brother's chance will be in motion. And Victor Drago learns what happens when he uses a boy's heart to hunt a wolf. Enzo Salvatore moved faster than fear. That was the first thing I learned after he took my hand in that private dining room and turned his entire world toward my brother. Powerful men had frightened me before. Victor Drago had used power like a hand around my throat. Hospitals used it like a locked door. Debt used it like a chain. But Enzo used it that night like a blade cutting through every rope tied around my life. Rocco was already on the phone before we reached the elevator. Men in black suits appeared in the hallway without anyone calling them twice. Cars moved. Doors opened. The city outside the restaurant was still frozen under snow, but Enzo's world did not move like ordinary weather could touch it. Dr. Bellini is awake, Rocco said, one hand pressed to his earpiece. He says he can review the scans in 20 minutes. He can review them in 10, Enzo said. His surgical team? Milan and Zurich. They can be airborne before sunrise. Enzo's eyes did not leave the elevator doors. Not commercial. Rocco nodded once. Private jet. I stood beside them with Victor's burner phone clutched in one hand and Milo's bill folded in the other, feeling like a poor girl who had accidentally stepped into a machine built for kings and criminals. You can't just fly doctors across the world, I said. Enzo looked at me. Watch me. This is not normal. Normal was killing your brother slowly. The elevator opened into the parking level, where 3 black SUVs waited with engines running. I stopped. The words hit too hard because they were true. Enzo turned back immediately, his expression changing when he saw my face. Alina, I shook my head. Don't say it like that. Like what? Like you can fix the last 5 years in one night. His jaw tightened, but his voice stayed quiet. I cannot fix what happened before tonight. He stepped closer, slow enough that I could move away. But I can stop pretending your brother's life should wait for paperwork. I wanted to hate him for making it sound so simple. I wanted to hate the relief rising inside me like warmth after frostbite, but all I could think was Milo in that white hospital bed, trying to be brave while adults counted money around his heart. No ownership, I whispered. No debt. Enzo's eyes darkened, not with anger, but with something that looked painfully close to hurt. No ownership, no debt. Only help. Why? The question came out broken. He looked at me for a long second. Because you protected me when fear gave you every reason not to. Because you slapped me when I deserved worse. Because every night at 2:14, your voice reminded me there was still one person in this city who would tell me the truth and not ask what it could buy her. His hand lifted, then stopped before touching my cheek. And because I do not know how to listen to you cry and remain the man I was before, I looked away, because if I kept looking at him, I might believe him too quickly. We reached St. Agnes before midnight. The hospital changed the moment Enzo entered it. Nurses straightened. Administrators appeared from offices I had never seen open after 6. Security guards who had ignored me for months suddenly remembered how to move. Dr. Patel came down with confusion on her face and Milo's chart in her arms. "Alina, what is happening?" Before I could answer, Enzo stepped forward. "My name is Enzo Salvatore. Dr. Bellini is reviewing Milo Voss's records now. His team will be in the air before sunrise. You will have whatever equipment, operating time, staff, and protection you require. No forms will disappear. No board will delay. No one will discuss payment with her again." Dr. Patel stared at him, then at me. Not judgment. Not exactly. More like shock trying to become professional. Milo's case is complex. That is why I called the best. Medicine cannot be rushed because a powerful man enters the room. For the first time that night, I almost smiled. Enzo did not intimidate her. He respected that immediately. "Then tell me what medicine needs, doctor. I will make sure nothing else blocks it." Dr. Patel looked at him carefully. "I need the full imaging transferred. I need confirmation from the surgical chief. I need an ICU bed secured. I need his consent, his sister's consent, and a team that understands this is not a spectacle." Enzo nodded. "Done." She glanced at me. "Alina?" My throat tightened. "Can this really help him?" Her face softened, but this time the softness did not come before a wall. "If Dr. Bellini is the man I think he is, yes. It can help." I covered my mouth before the sob escaped. Enzo turned slightly, blocking the hallway from seeing me break. It was such a small movement. No speech, no claim, just his body between my weakness and the world. Milo was awake when I entered his room. His eyes went straight to Enzo behind me. "Is that the boyfriend?" I choked on a laugh and a sob at the same time. "Milo," Enzo's eyebrow lifted. "You have discussed me." "She smiles at her phone," Milo said. "I do not." "She does." Enzo looked at me, and for one impossible second, with monitors beeping and fear sitting in the corner, something warm passed between us. Then Milo's gaze sharpened with the brutal honesty of children who have spent too much time around doctors. "Are you paying for my heart?" The room went still. I moved toward him. "Milo?" Enzo stepped forward first, but he did not come too close. "I am removing a delay that should never have been placed in front of it." Milo studied him. "That sounds like rich person language." Enzo's mouth almost moved. "It probably is. Will Alina owe you?" "No." "Will I?" "No." "Are you dangerous?" "Yes." Milo nodded slowly. "To us?" Enzo's answer came without hesitation. "Never." Milo looked at me. I could see him trying to be a man with a boy's face, trying to judge the stranger who had walked into our nightmare with money and guards, and a voice his sister knew too well. "Okay," he said finally, "but if you make her cry, I have hospital scissors." Enzo looked at the plastic safety scissors beside Milo's homework papers. "I will remember that." Milo leaned back, exhausted by bravery. Good. By 3:30 a.m., Dr. Bellini appeared on a screen from Enzo's private medical jet, silver-haired, sharp-eyed, already reviewing Milo's scans with Dr. Patel. By 5:10, 2 specialists were in the air. By sunrise, an entire wing at St. Agnes had been secured without moving another child out of needed care. Enzo made sure of that after Dr. Patel said it once. "No child loses a bed because of me," he told Rocco. "If they need space, we build space." I heard him say it from outside the conference room, and something inside me folded under the weight of relief. He was not good in a clean way. I knew that. I had heard enough in his voice before ever seeing his face. But that morning, his power did not feel like a storm coming for us. It felt like a wall rising around my brother. Victor Drago called the burner at 7:02 a.m. I was in the hospital chapel, not praying exactly, just sitting where the silence did not ask me to explain myself. Enzo sat beside me, close but not touching. The burner vibrated between us on the wooden bench. Victor's name was not saved, but both of us knew. Enzo looked at me. "May I?" I handed him the phone. He answered without speaking. Victor's voice came through, smug and smooth. 48 hours, Alina. I hope you are feeling productive." Enzo's expression did not change. "She has finished speaking to you." Silence. Then Victor laughed once. "Il lupo, Drago. So the little operator found a way to bring you to the phone." "No," Enzo said calmly. "You did." Victor's voice sharpened. "Careful, I still have leverage." "No. You have evidence of your own stupidity." Enzo stood. And even though Victor could not see him, the chapel felt colder. Her debt is now mine. My head snapped up. Enzo lifted one hand slightly, asking me to wait. Every document, every signature, every illegal interest chain, every man you sent near a children's hospital. My lawyers will own the paper by noon. My men already own the street outside your office. And if a single person connected to you breathes in Milo Voss's direction again, I will become very difficult to misunderstand. Victor was silent long enough for fear to show. You think this ends because you pay a bill? No, Enzo said. It ends because you used a sick boy as bait. His voice dropped. And because she asked me once whether power always takes more than it gives. I am in the mood to answer. He ended the call. I stood too fast. You said no debt. There is no debt. You just said my debt is yours. To him, not to you. That is not a small difference. It is the only difference that matters. I stared at him, angry because I was scared, and scared because I wanted to lean on him. You can't buy every problem. I know. Do you? Yes. He placed the burner phone on the chapel bench between us. Money can remove Drago from your throat. It cannot make Milo safe in surgery. It cannot make you trust me. It cannot erase the moment I thought your fear was betrayal. His voice roughened. I know exactly what it cannot buy. That stopped me. I'm still angry at you. Good. Good? Anger means you still expect better from me. I looked at him. This dangerous man in a black suit standing under a small stained glass window, saying things no one in my life had ever had the courage to say plainly. And what do you expect from me? His eyes held mine. Nothing you do not choose. Rocco entered the chapel then, saving me from answering. Drago's office is empty. He ran. Enzo's face turned still. Of course he did. We found 2 of his men near the hospital loading entrance. They are gone now. Alive? Unfortunately. Enzo glanced at me, and despite everything, I understood he had chosen that word differently because I was there. Keep it that way unless they return. Rocco nodded. There is more. Drago has contacts in Italy. If we move them after surgery, he may try again. Them. Me and Milo. We had become a plural inside Enzo's protection. Move us where? I asked. Enzo turned to me. After Milo is stable, Lake Como. I almost laughed. Lake Como? My villa has medical staff, secure grounds, and privacy. Of course it does. You disapprove of villas? I disapprove of my life turning into a crime novel with better furniture. Rocco coughed into his hand. Enzo's mouth curved slightly. Noted. Milo's surgery happened 31 hours later. Those hours stretched longer than entire years. Dr. Bellini arrived with his team, reviewed every scan, spoke to Milo like a person instead of a case, and told me the truth without cruelty. It is serious, he said, but not hopeless. Milo squeezed my hand. I like him. Because he said not hopeless? I whispered. Because his shoes are shiny. I laughed until I cried. Enzo stayed through everything but never crowded us. He signed nothing in front of me. He discussed money in rooms where I did not have to hear numbers. He stood when Dr. Patel spoke. He stepped out when Milo needed privacy. He brought coffee I forgot to drink and food I could not swallow. At 2:14 a.m. before the surgery, my phone buzzed while I sat in the hallway outside pre-op. Enzo was standing 10 feet away, speaking quietly with Rocco. I looked at the screen. Enzo. I answered and looked straight at him. You know you're right there. His eyes met mine across the hallway. I know. Then why are you calling? His voice came through the phone, low and familiar, the voice from the dark. Because this is how I met your courage. My throat tightened. He stayed where he was, giving me distance and closeness at once. Say hello, Voce. Tears blurred the hallway. Hello, Il Lupo. His face changed. Not enough for the nurses to notice. Enough for me. He will have his chance, he said. And if chance is not enough, then we stand there anyway. I looked through the glass at Milo, small under white blankets, trying to joke with a nurse while terror sat behind his eyes. I'm scared. I know. I hate it. I know. I don't want to be brave. Enzo's voice softened. Then don't. Be his sister. I will be the wall. The surgery lasted 6 hours and 42 minutes. I counted every minute like a debt I owed God. When Dr. Bellini finally walked toward us, his cap in his hand, I could not stand. Enzo stood beside me but did not touch me until I reached blindly for him. His hand closed around mine. Dr. Bellini smiled. He did well. The world disappeared. Sound left first, then strength, then fear. I folded forward and Enzo caught me before my knees hit the floor. I cried into his jacket with no dignity at all, and he held me like something fragile that had still survived a storm. He did well, I kept saying. He did well. Yes, Enzo whispered against my hair. He did. Milo woke groggy, irritated, and alive. Did I win? He whispered. I kissed his forehead. You won. His eyes drifted to Enzo. Did you cry? Enzo looked deeply offended. No. Milo's mouth twitched. Liar. Even Dr. Patel smiled. For 10 days, I lived between Milo's bedside and the hallway where Enzo's men stood like shadows with earpieces. Drago vanished from New York, but his threats did not. Rocco intercepted messages. Enzo's lawyers dismantled the debt. Confidant sent 3 increasingly terrified emails about confidentiality and breach protocol, then stopped after Enzo's attorney responded. Celeste texted me once. You are either fired or promoted. Hard to tell. I laughed for the first time without feeling guilty. When Milo was stable enough to travel under medical supervision, Enzo asked again. Not ordered, asked. Lake Como is safer. For how long? Until Drago is no longer a problem. That sounds like a sentence. Then make it a vacation with security. Rich person language again. I am trying to adapt. I looked at Milo, who was pretending not to listen from his hospital bed. Do villas have elevators? He asked. Several, Enzo said. Do they have sad hospital walls? No. Can I design a better recovery room? Enzo looked at me before answering him. You may design anything you want. Milo considered that. I vote villa. You do not get a vote, I said. I have stitches. I get 2 votes. So we flew to Italy on Enzo's private jet with a cardiac nurse, 2 doctors, Rocco, 3 guards, and Milo acting like a tiny emperor because the seat reclined into a bed. I watched clouds pass beneath us and tried to understand how quickly life could move from a queen's apartment with overdue bills to a leather seat above the Atlantic beside a man who had once been only a voice in my ear. Enzo sat across from me, not beside me, reading reports while pretending not to watch me every few minutes. You can ask, he said. Ask what? Whatever question is making your forehead do that. My forehead is private. Your forehead is loud. I looked toward Milo, asleep under a blanket, then back at Enzo. How many people are afraid of you? Many. How many should be? Fewer than before. Because of me? His gaze lifted. Because of what I hear when I imagine your voice asking what power is for. I looked away. That line is going to haunt you. Good. Lake Como looked impossible, like someone had painted peace for people who did not deserve it. Enzo's villa stood above the water with pale stone walls, arched windows, terraces full of lemon trees, and a private dock where the lake shone silver in the afternoon light. Milo stared from his wheelchair as if he had arrived inside a dream he did not trust. This is your house? He asked Enzo. One of them. That is a terrible answer. I am learning. You need lessons. Apparently. The villa staff greeted us quietly. No one stared at Milo's bandages. No one looked at my cheap coat. A room had been prepared for him with medical equipment hidden as much as possible behind warm wood and blue curtains facing the lake. On the desk lay architectural sketchbooks, sharpened pencils, and a note in Enzo's handwriting. For buildings that do not look sad. Milo read it twice, then looked away quickly. He's okay, he whispered to me later when Enzo was out on the terrace with Rocco. Who? The wolf guy. He has a name. I know. But wolf guy sounds cooler. He is dangerous. So are stairs if you fall down them. Doesn't mean you can't use them to go somewhere better. I stared at my 12-year-old brother. Since when are you wise? Surgery made me mature. Surgery made you dramatic. Also true. That evening, Enzo found me on the terrace after Milo fell asleep. The lake was dark blue under the moon, the air soft with lemon leaves and water. For the first time in weeks, no machine beeped beside me. No burner phone waited in my pocket. No bill sat under my hand. I should have felt free. Instead, I felt afraid of what freedom might ask me to feel. Enzo stood beside me, leaving space. Always space now, as if he had memorized every time I had said control and built his tenderness around not becoming it. Drago was seen in Naples, he said. Rocco thinks he is trying to reach an old contact. So this isn't over. No. You could have lied. Yes. Why didn't you? Because you would hear it. I looked at him then. The moonlight cut his face into shadows and silver. He looked less like a monster here, and more like a lonely man who had spent too many years letting fear wear his name. I was terrified of you, I said. I know. I still am sometimes. I know. But not the same way. His eyes moved over my face, not hungry, not owning, careful. How are you afraid of me now? I swallowed. Like if I let myself want you, I might not know how to stop. He went still. The lake moved below us. Somewhere inside, Milo laughed in his sleep, a tiny sound through the open window. Enzo turned fully toward me. I will never ask you to stop being afraid by force. You say things like that and expect me to remain sensible. No. His voice lowered. I hope you do not. He reached for me slowly. I could have stepped back. I did not. His fingers touched my cheek with a tenderness that made my chest ache. I fell in love with your voice before I knew your face, he said. Then I saw your face and realized the woman behind it had been carrying a storm alone. Tears burned my eyes. My secret broke you. No, he said. My own suspicion did. Your secret showed me what I should have seen sooner. That I was desperate. That you were loyal while terrified. That you had every reason to betray me and chose not to. That your love for Milo was stronger than Drago's fear and my name. His thumb brushed one tear away. It broke the man I was. I do not want him back. I kissed him first. It surprised both of us. For 1 second, Enzo did not move, as if he was giving me time to regret it. Then his hand slid carefully to the back of my neck, not holding me there, just resting like a prayer, and he kissed me back with a restraint that trembled. It was not the kiss of a man claiming victory. It was the kiss of a man afraid that if he held too tightly, he would become the thing I had spent my life surviving. I stepped closer and his breath broke against my mouth. Alina, he whispered. I'm here. I know. No, I touched his face. I'm here because I chose to be. His eyes closed for half a second, as if choice was the only language strong enough to undo him. 3 weeks passed in Lake Como with a strange, fragile peace. Milo grew stronger by small miracles. 1 longer walk down the hallway, 1 extra bite of breakfast, 1 morning without pain written around his mouth. Dr. Bellini checked him every day and pretended not to enjoy arguing with Milo about architecture. Rocco taught him cards and lost suspiciously often. Enzo stayed near without crowding us, running his world from terraces and closed rooms, stepping into sunlight whenever Milo demanded an audience for a new sketch. I learned the rhythm of the villa. Lemon trees in the morning, lake wind in the afternoon, guards at every gate. Enzo's hand brushing mine but never taking it unless I reached first. Happiness did not arrive loudly. It came in quiet pieces, and that made me trust it more. Then danger found its way through a badge. It happened on a bright afternoon when the lake looked too beautiful for fear. Milo was resting in his room after physical therapy. I was by the window, reading over a medication schedule Dr. Bellini had already explained twice, when a nurse I did not recognize entered with a tray. She wore the villa medical uniform. Her badge looked real. Her smile did not. Dr. Bellini asked for an adjustment, she said in accented English. My hand tightened around the paper. He did not mention one. It was just approved. She moved toward Milo's IV line too quickly. Milo opened his eyes. Alina? Something inside me went cold. I looked at the label on the small vial in her hand. The name was close. Close enough to pass in a hurry. Not close enough for a sister who had spent years memorizing the difference between medicines that saved and medicines that harmed. Stop, I said. The nurse's smile vanished. She reached for Milo anyway. I moved before thought. I put myself between her and the bed, shoving the tray sideways. Metal clattered against the floor. Milo tried to sit up. Don't move, I snapped, and my voice came out like a stranger's. The nurse grabbed my wrist. I twisted hard, not because I was strong, but because fear made me faster than sense. She stumbled back. The door opened so violently it hit the wall. Enzo was there, Rocco behind him, 2 guards spreading into the room. Enzo took in the tray, the vial, Milo's pale face, my body in front of the bed. His expression emptied. That was when I saw the wolf again. Not the lonely one from the phone. Not the careful man from the terrace. The ancient, merciless thing men whispered about. The nurse froze. Rocco caught her before she reached the side door. She came through the Milan agency, Rocco said, jaw tight as he checked her badge. Forged credentials. Good enough to pass the first 2 screens. Enzo did not look at him. He looked at me. Are you hurt? No. Milo? I'm okay, Milo said, voice shaking. Enzo's eyes moved to the wrong medication on the floor. For a moment, the room seemed to hold its breath. Then the woman began to laugh softly. Drago says hello. Enzo turned toward her so slowly my skin chilled. I stepped forward. Enzo. He stopped. He did not look back. Not in front of him, I said. Milo was gripping the blanket with both hands. Enzo's shoulders rose once, then fell. When he spoke, his voice was low and controlled. Take her out, alive. I want every document, every contact, every person who touched that agency file. And I want Drago found before sunset. Rocco nodded. The woman was dragged away, still smiling until Rocco whispered something in her ear. Then she stopped smiling. Enzo came to the bed but did not touch Milo until Milo reached for him first. That broke me more than the danger had. Milo's small fingers closed around Enzo's sleeve. You didn't do the scary thing, he whispered. Enzo crouched beside him. No. Because of Alina? Enzo's gaze flicked to me. Because of both of you. Milo considered that. Good. Hospital scissors would not work on you. Enzo almost smiled, but his eyes were still dark. I am grateful for your mercy. By sunset, Rocco had Drago's route. Not because Enzo's men had beaten the truth out of half of Italy, though I suspected the temptation had been there, but because the fake nurse had carried more than a forged badge. She had carried messages, payments, agency contacts, and one arrogant mistake, a location for her extraction. Drago was waiting near a private marina outside Naples, planning to disappear on a boat he thought could outrun consequences. Enzo did not let me come. For once, I did not argue. I stayed with Milo, sitting beside his bed while Dr. Bellini checked him again and again, until my brother finally said, If one more adult listens to my heart, I'm charging rent. Dr. Bellini smiled. Your heart is expensive enough already. That's what I keep telling people. It was nearly midnight when Enzo returned. No blood on his clothes, no chaos in his eyes, just exhaustion, and something like peace standing behind it. I met him in the hallway outside Milo's room. Is he dead? I asked. Enzo looked at me for a long moment. No. My breath left me. He is alive, in custody, and surrounded by evidence even his friends cannot bury. Rocco handed everything to the right authorities and to the wrong journalists. His debt records, forged medical credentials, hospital threats, payments to confidant staff, the attempted medication switch, all of it. You let the law take him? I let proof take him. His mouth tightened. It will last longer. I touched his hand. Was that hard? Yes. Thank you. His eyes closed for 1 second. Do not thank me for doing what should have been obvious. I am thanking you for choosing the man you are trying to become. He looked toward Milo's door. He watched me stop. He needed to. So did I. After that, Drago became a name other people handled. His network folded under documents, recordings, frightened accountants, and men who had only been loyal while they thought he could win. The illegal debt against me disappeared. The confidant analyst who had sold operator metadata vanished into a courtroom instead of an alley. Celeste called me once, her voice unusually small, to say the company had terminated my contract and erased my access. I expected panic. Instead, I felt something close to relief. I was no longer Operator 7. I did not know who I was yet, but at least I was not a voice trapped behind glass. 2 months later, Milo was strong enough for the Amalfi Coast. Enzo said it casually over breakfast, as if people normally recovered from heart surgery and loan shark trauma by moving from one impossible Italian view to another. The sea air will help. I stared at him over my coffee. That is the most expensive medical excuse I have ever heard. Milo raised his hand from the table. I support science. Rocco, who had somehow become a permanent part of breakfast, did not look up from his newspaper. The boy needs sea air. You're all ridiculous, I said. Enzo's mouth curved, but persuasive. So we went to Amalfi, not because we had to run, but because for the first time, we were allowed to choose beauty without fear chasing us through the door. The villa there was smaller than Lake Como only because Enzo had a criminal definition of small. White walls, blue shutters, terraces dripping with bougainvillea, stairs leading down toward water so bright it looked unreal. Milo stood on the terrace with his hands on the railing, breathing slowly but easily. My heart likes Italy, he announced. Enzo stood behind him. It has expensive taste. Like you. Worse than me. Milo grinned. Can we come back every year? The question landed between us like a tiny bridge. Enzo looked at me, not answering for my life without asking. I looked at Milo, healthy enough to make future plans, and my eyes filled before I could stop them. Maybe, I said. Milo groaned. That means yes, but she's being emotionally complicated. Enzo's mouth curved. I am familiar with the condition. That evening, Enzo set dinner on the terrace. Not a grand party. Not strangers, not speeches, not a room where I had to perform gratitude. Just Milo, Rocco at the far end pretending he had not become family, Dr. Bellini raising a glass of water because he was on call, and Enzo beside me under strings of white lights while the sea turned gold. After dinner, Milo became suspiciously tired and allowed Rocco to walk him inside. Subtle, I said when we were alone. Enzo stood, suddenly more nervous than I had ever seen him. That frightened me in a new way. What did you do? Something I hope is not unforgivable. Enzo. He took my hand and led me to the edge of the terrace. The sea moved below us. The sky was full of stars. At exactly 2:14 a.m., his phone rang. My heart stopped, then started again when I saw my own old confidant line displayed on the screen. How? I whispered. I bought out your contract. My eyes narrowed. That sounds like ownership. It would be if I had done it without you. He placed a folded legal release in my hand. My signature was at the bottom. The one I had given his attorney weeks earlier when I thought I was only closing my employment file. I bought the recording rights to your voice logs with your written consent, then had every copy sealed. After tonight, they will be destroyed. No one owns your voice anymore. Not Confidant. Not Victor's ghosts. Not me. I stared at him. Then why play this? Because there was one file I asked permission to keep until I could give it back to you. He placed the phone in my hand. I returned your voice. The screen showed one saved audio file. Our first call. My hand trembled. You kept it? Only because you said yes to keeping it sealed until tonight. His voice roughened. I kept the moment you stopped me from becoming worse. I listen to it when I need to remember what kind of man you believed could still exist. I pressed play for only 3 seconds. My own voice came out soft and frightened and brave. If you really wanted him gone, Il Lupo, you would not be asking a stranger for a reason. I stopped it, tears rising. Enzo reached into his jacket and lowered himself to one knee. My breath caught so hard it hurt. Alina Voss, he said, and his voice shook just enough to undo me. Every night at 2:14, I called because your voice made the dark less empty. Then I saw your face and learned your courage was not a sound. It was a life. A sister who would face wolves for a boy. A woman who would protect a man she had every reason to betray. I will never own you. I will never use what you love against you. I will spend the rest of my life proving that power can protect without possessing. He opened the small black box. The ring was beautiful, but it was not what made me cry. Inside the band, engraved so tiny only I could see, was one word. Voce. Marry me, he said. Not because I saved Milo. Not because you owe me. Marry me because when the phone rings at 2:14, I want you beside me, not on the other side of the dark. I looked toward the open terrace doors. Milo was peeking from behind the curtain, crying openly and giving me 2 thumbs up. Rocco stood behind him, expression blank except for the fact that his eyes were suspiciously wet. I laughed through tears. You are all terrible at privacy. Answer first, Milo called. Enzo did not look away from me, waiting. Always waiting now, letting me choose. I knelt in front of him because I did not want him below me when I answered. I wanted us face to face. Yes, I whispered. Enzo closed his eyes as if the word had gone through him like mercy. Then he slid the ring onto my finger, and when he kissed me, the sea moved below us. The stars held still above us, and the old hour that had once belonged to loneliness became ours. Months later, back at Lake Como, 2:14 a.m., no longer meant a secret line in a blue-lit booth. It meant Enzo reaching across our bed before he was fully awake, finding my hand like a habit his heart had chosen. It meant Milo asleep down the hall after spending the day designing a children's hospital with windows shaped toward sunlight. It meant no burner phone, no debt collector, no hospital bill hidden under a keyboard. Sometimes Enzo still woke from old darkness. Sometimes I still listened for danger in silence. Love did not erase what we had survived. It gave us somewhere safe to place it. One night, his phone alarm chimed softly at 2:14. I opened my eyes and found him watching me. What? I whispered. Say hello. I smiled, remembering the glass booth, the wolf, the first call, the man kneeling in a room I never saw. I touched his face, the face I had once feared before I knew the man beneath it. Hello, Il Lupo. His arm tightened around me. Hello, Voce. He had fallen in love with my voice in the dark. He had seen my face and broken under the truth of what I had carried. But in the end, my secret did not destroy us. It destroyed the walls around him. And when morning came over the lake, he was no longer the lonely Mafia boss calling a stranger just to hear her say hello. He was Enzo. He was mine because I chose him. And I was no longer a voice trapped behind glass. I was the woman who answered the wolf and taught him what power was for,